What is going on, my furry friends? This is your friend King Julian. Together with me here this morning we have Lady Olivia CB500X. I was testing this beautiful machine for a week, and as you can see, she's on a center stand right now, so I finally dared to try this as well. But a sad day is here when I need to return her. So let's do a recap of our experience, shall we? In today's highly anticipated video, I'm bringing you a detailed review of the new version of Honda CB500X released in 2022. By words of Honda, the CB500X is a version of an A2 compliant mini adventurer. Though its A2 compliance is an undeniable fact, calling it mini might be a little inaccurate. This bike is definitely no baby at all. It is a fully grown and a very capable machine, which we will try to prove throughout this video. This beauty weighs only 199 kg curb and is powered by 471cc liquid-cooled parallel twin engine. This produces maximum power of 35 kW, which is roughly 47 horses at 8,600 RPM. Maximum torque it offers is 43 Nm at 6,500 RPM. The engine is Euro 5 compliant and has a pretty decent exhaust note. Well, see or rather hear for yourself. As a token of appreciation for the great popularity of this model, Honda decided to reward us with following upgrades to the chassis and suspension in 2022. The 41 telescopic forks of the previous design have been replaced by an upside-down 41mm Showa separate function fork big piston. Separate function means big piston pressure separation damper in one leg and spring mechanism in the other. This setup significantly improves both the reactions and ride quality. The single-tube rear shock absorber with its large diameter piston has been upgraded too, in order to match the performance of the new front suspension. It now features a 5-stage preload adjustment with newly optimized spring rate and damping settings. In line with the improvements made to the suspension, the braking performance has been improved too, by replacing the original single disc and 2-piston caliper front brake by dual 296mm discs and axial mounted Nissin 2-piston calipers. Further upgrades to the chassis are the redesigned lighter 19-inch front wheel, as well as the redesigned lighter swing arm, which also contribute to better handling. Other upgrades worth mentioning are lighter radiator, new fuel injection setting for improved engine character, and a more powerful LED headlight. The fuel tank has capacity of pretty decent 17.5 liters including reserve, and Honda promises an excellent fuel economy, which we will cover in more detail a bit later. The electronics package on this mini adventure includes dual-channel ABS, LCD dash, Honda Intelligent Security System, and full LED lighting system. Besides the new color scheme Pearl Organic Green, which can also be seen on the main star of this video, CB500X entered 2022 with two more already known color variations: Matte Gunpowder Black Metallic and Grand Prix Red. These three color options, as well as all of the technical specs, remain unchanged in 2023. With height of 177 centimeters, I could easily hop in the saddle without having to use the foot pegs at all. But I use them anyway, simply because it's so freaking cool and comfy. This seating position is easily the most comfortable I've ever experienced on any motorcycle. My knees are bent in a very non-aggressive angle thanks to the relaxed position of the foot pegs. My back is nice and straight, and the handlebar is ideally wide to provide a great sense of control. I can reach the ground with both feet flat, which comes off as a little surprise given how mature and robust this bike seems at first glance. Also, thanks to the wide and nicely shaped fuel tank, I have a view which suggests rather a fully grown adventure bike than a so-called mini adventure. It even resembles the legendary Africa Twin quite a bit, only in a slightly reduced version. The big question remains, will it still remind me of the Africa Twin even when we hit the road? There is only one way to find out.
So let's talk comfort. My position on this bike, extremely relaxed, extremely comfortable. I even dare to say I've probably never ridden a bike with a more comfortable position than this one. And even after hours in saddle and a full day of riding, I didn't feel any discomfort in my knees whatsoever. The seat is also very nicely shaped and long enough so I can shift my weight and adjust my riding position. The only downside to the seat I have to mention is at first touch and first glance it really seems comfortable. I was really looking forward to riding full day on this seat, but unfortunately turns out after a couple of hours, maybe not even a couple of hours actually, already after an hour I started feeling slight discomfort in my butt area. This seat isn't a comfort seat. It isn't really suitable for longer trips, or you need to count with regular brakes. Which is funny because it seems the padding is there, and really at first touch I was convinced this would be very comfortable. But what's most comfortable for me and what deserved the most points is the chassis and the suspension. The weight on this bike is exceptionally well distributed. The suspension just swallows any imperfections on the road perfectly. This is great, look. Nothing. I feel nothing. Major thumbs up, Honda. Really, this bike is so well done. Thank you very much for that. It is really so well balanced that you can maneuver it at slow speeds, you can maneuver it manually, and you barely feel the weight of the bike, really. Or at least I do. I don't know, maybe somebody would disagree. It's still 200 kilos, but man, is this bike easy to handle. Now another element of comfort, which is very important before we get to the ergonomics of the control buttons, is the wind protection. So let's hit the motorway and see how we feel about it. Okay, we're on a highway. So the wind protection, I would say, is exceptionally good on this bike. These deflectors help my hands. My legs are really well protected, probably due to the shape of the tank. It's been a windy week and I've spent a fair amount of time on motorway, but I can confirm, here we go. I only feel wind blast on my shoulders really, and it's nothing terrible. I feel nothing on my helmet actually, which is surprising. It really deflects the wind efficiently, this little screen, and the position it has is ideal for me, really. This is more comfortable in terms of wind protection than Africa Twin actually. Now let's talk about the control buttons. There's not too much to cover. This bike is very simple. We have very basic functions here, and the buttons are super big, man. This looks like this is one thing I have to smile about. I had to laugh about it at first, but now I only smile and I'm happy with it, but it looks like a toy bike. Look at it! You don't have so many control buttons, so they better be big enough.
One more detail which I would like to add is that this model comes with an adjustable brake lever and non-adjustable clutch. This causes me a little pain every now and then, since the clutch engages quite far for the size of my hand. It takes some getting used to, as well as a bit of finger yoga. But let's not only talk about my comfort. Traditionally, I had to test the bike with a pillion on board, And who else than my charming assistant Julia would make a better first choice. Her weight is approximately 50 kilos, and though I could feel the extra weight on the bike, it was noticeable only in lower speeds. As soon as we really got going, the two of us and the machine synced up perfectly in an instant. Julia was generally very impressed by the level of comfort this bike has to offer. Wait, that would be an understatement. She literally fell in love with it. She found the seat spacious and soft enough, appreciated the huge passenger handles on the sides, and also the possibility to rest her back against the conveniently shaped top case. In her own words, the most comfortable ride of my life, even better than with the Africa Twin. However, in order to get a more complete picture about the capabilities of this very capable machine, I decided to invite one more passenger aboard. This time my guinea pig happened to be my best friend Alex, who weighs around 85 kilos. Alex was very pleased by the handling and overall stability of the bike, as well as a great feeling of safety, which is quite impressive given that this was his first motorcycle trip ever. Now that's a huge compliment to Honda. He was also happy about the sufficient personal space and freedom offered by the long and spacious seat, and found the position of passenger footpegs relaxed and very comfortable too. You might be asking, Jules, why on earth would you be so rude and comment on the weight of your passengers? You actually might have a point there, but in my defense, I do have a valid reason for this. I wanted to show you that this fun little engine never seems to lack power, not even with two grown-ass men aboard.
I must say, honestly, I'm so impressed by the power delivery on this bike. As I was reading through the Honda spec sheet and introduction to the bike that I got from Honda, they were saying it's a very fun, sporty engine throughout the whole rev range, basically, with good power delivery, and I was thinking, yeah, sure, the typical sales blah blah blah, but it is really the case. For a 500cc bike, the CB500X performs excellently when we talk about engine. In the city you have no problem whatsoever, and on the highway the same. I was feeling very comfortable, very confident about this bike. It didn't seem like the bike is struggling. When I had to overtake cars, I could easily do it. I wasn't expecting this performance from a 500cc bike, and especially not from a 500cc adventure bike. Maybe CBR, okay, but this one, I thought it would be something way milder and potentially a little boring, but it's definitely not.
The only moments when I might have felt a bit of a struggle was during pretty steep climbs with a fully loaded machine. Hence, unless you're trying to win a race on this bike with a passenger behind your back, which by the way I wouldn't recommend on any motorcycle, CB500X is a great partner in crime who never lets you down. The Pillion Test definitely exceeded my expectations. As I indicated earlier in the model overview, this machine comes with a rather modest and minimalistic electronics package. We are already familiar with this LCD display, which is being reused by other mid-level models in Honda's catalog, but let's take a closer look at it anyway. The display itself is completely sufficient when it comes to the layout and detail of the displayed information, but unfortunately for us, the old issue of low visibility during daytime has still not been resolved. The reflection on the dash prevents me from reading any information other than speed and revs, since these are the largest of the display data. While I do understand that this piece of tech was only introduced in 2019, so it is still relatively new and the efficiency-driven Honda wants to reuse it for as long as possible, I still find it a little disappointing. In the meantime, the competitors such as KTM equip even some of their smallest entry-level models with nice TFT dashes, so there you have it. The least I would have expected from Honda was to introduce the possibility to switch between a light and a dark mode, which would allow every rider to choose whichever one they can read better. Unfortunately, this upgrade never happened. Of course, the readability issue does not apply during night hours, when I enjoyed the dash with no limitations whatsoever. Also, the LED headlight does a hell of a job, which contributes to the safety and overall quality of my riding experience. The electronics package further features ABS system, which is nowadays an absolute standard and a must, but the traction control, which would definitely make sense in case of an adventurer, is unfortunately missing. To wrap it up, premium electronics package is something to look for in other bikes, but I believe there is a good reason why CB500X wouldn't be bothered by this at all. It offers arguably the best price and quality ratio in its class, and the relatively low price tag makes this lovely bike very accessible. Taking a step back to look at this bike as a whole, there is undeniable beauty in how simple and straightforward it is, and I can only hardly imagine a better gateway drug into the adventure segment. A motorcycle designed with touring in mind should definitely offer a solid fuel economy. Honda claims an average fuel consumption of 3.6 liters by 100 kilometers, which would give us a range of approximately 485 kilometers. I can confirm that this is a pretty realistic number. During this test week, I managed to get approximately 700 kilometers under my belt while riding in pretty much every environment, mostly in the city, but also intercity, on the motorway, and often not alone. Still, I needed to refuel the motorcycle only once. You heard me right, just one time during the whole week. Hence, I am more than happy with both fuel tank capacity as well as the fuel economy of this bike. But what good is adventure on two wheels without enough storage room, right? My test bike comes with an optional plastic top case with 35-liter volume. This easily swallows a helmet together with a pair of gloves and a kidney belt, or perhaps also 8 cartons of cigarettes and 2 grilled fish. Please don't even ask me. The storage room could eventually be extended even further by another 29 liters by adding 2 side cases, which were not provided with this demo bike. I think we all agree that this motorcycle is ready for long distance traveling, but what makes it a truly versatile machine, you ask? Well, it is pretty compact to begin with, which makes it perfectly suitable for city experience, whether I need to filter through narrow gaps in traffic or quickly and easily find a little free spot for parking. But besides that, a truly versatile adventurer should also be able to manage a challenging off-road terrain. It is true that Slovak roads might sometimes feel a bit off-roady, even in the city, but I'm talking real off-road here. There's only one way to test this. Buckle up for our traditional off-road challenge.
So my freaky friends, let's go for it. Off-road challenge. This is an extreme terrain next to the today not so nude beach on golden sands. A lot of gravel. We don't have traction control here, so I'll take it very easy. CB500X, aka Miss Olivia, is managing this very well. We have a nude man here, we're not looking at him. So it is a nude beach after all, I knew it. The rumble you can hear is the top case, actually. That is quite noisy, but it's not a firm part of the motorcycle. So we won't deduct any points for the build quality, which is really exceptional on this bike. Woo! This is very adventurous, and I must say I don't feel as comfortable as I did on Africa Twin. So this little Africa is suitable for off-road, but maybe a different kind, not this extreme. Okay, I'll be standing in the footpegs for a while, and I have nice stability. I'm just not a skilled adventure rider, so I don't want to do anything stupid. Whoop. Whew. Okay, not bad for such a small bike. We passed the challenge. Let's clean her up and call it a day.
As you could see, the 500X managed to withstand all of my tests. Honda's marketing is not lying. It is a pretty damn versatile piece of bike. As long as you can accept how it handles every situation with quite a bit of elegance, which prevents it from ever turning into an aggressive, adrenaline-pumped beast, it will make you extremely happy in every other aspect of your daily life with it. Should you find the base model under-equipped, there is a plenty of possibilities to tune it up by adding practical accessories. Besides the optional handguards, protective frame, luggage rack and top case, my test bike also comes with a center stand, which is practical for safe parking and maintenance of rear wheel and chain. What's also worth mentioning are optional heated grips and a 12-volt power plug. My beloved cruise control, which by the way should be mandatory for all bikes with no exceptions, is tragically missing. All jokes aside, it would be very useful, but no one would really expect to find it here. As already said before, while this bike won't exactly knock your socks off, its lightness and the ease it handles with can get quite addictive. Still, I didn't expect just how great it would be in the twisties. It might be that I didn't have my own bike for quite some time now, and so every moment in the saddle makes me more emotional than usual, but man, I really feel as if twisties never have been this much fun. I believe there are three main factors that heavily contribute to my excitement. First is the perfectly balanced suspension and chassis, which is extremely confidence-inspiring. Secondly, the handlebar. It is ideally wide and adds to the overall feeling of stability and control over the bike. Last but not least, it is the engine. I surely need to earn every bit of top-end power it has to offer, but on the other hand, it lets me push it and have fun without ever having to worry about losing control. I'm finally beginning to understand how less can sometimes be more. The design of this bike definitely doesn't stand out much, but it still got complimented more than once, which always pleased my bloated biker's ego and added to the overall fun element. Honda is a true legend when it comes to build quality, and this bike is no exception. It is a solid piece of a motorcycle where everything sits right in its place, nothing wiggles, wobbles or bends, and nothing seems to be too fragile. Moreover, I really wouldn't be afraid to take some risks on a solid off-road adventure if it was mine, even more so with a protective frame, which I luckily didn't get to test this time. With its almost 200 kilos, I wouldn't be afraid to drop it, since picking it up from the ground must surely be a piece of cake. As we're slowly reaching the finish line, my freaky friends, let's talk about those who should buy this motorcycle and those who should rather look for something else.
I will start with a person who shouldn't buy this bike. If you're too much into specs, then the numbers connected with this machine are not mind-blowing. So these spec junkies probably won't find this interesting, which is a shame. Shame on them, because they're missing out. I can think of somebody who is into sports bikes, wants a sports bike and wants to ride exclusively sports bikes and do the track days a lot. Then of course this is not for you. For the rest of you though, I have great news. This is a perfect all-rounder for you. This bike will satisfy a completely new rider because it's not scary, but it's powerful enough and you can learn a lot. It's very simple, so you have to rely on yourself. At the same time, it gives you an idea about the big adventure bikes, because this really feels like a smaller version of Africa Twin to me. It is very, very similar DNA. The feel of the suspension is comparable to Africa Twin, for God's sake. It's really, really impressive what Honda did with this motorcycle. So if you're a young rider who's still considering which path to take, go for this one, because you can spend fair share of time in the city streets, in the traffic, without any problems. You can also go on adventures, long trips. It's extremely comfortable. You can perfect your technique, and also you can gain experience with a Pillion easily. This is probably the only motorcycle where I liked riding with Pillion more than riding alone, because first of all, my Pillions were excited about it and I enjoyed it a lot, and secondly, I had plenty of room and the bike sat on the road even better with some extra weight. But in all fairness, this bike is also perfect for an experienced rider who wants to do the same thing. He's thinking, should I get an adventure bike? Looks interesting, maybe I should try. Then try this one and you'll know. It's also perfect as a second bike. The other day I just met a guy who owns a liter Jigsaw, and he was telling me he would like something like this as his second bike because his daughter is afraid to ride with him, and he would like something more versatile. So there you go. I mean, this is a perfect second bike exactly for this. But technologically, in all honesty, I have to admit it is lagging behind. In my humble opinion, this bike deserves a better electronic package. This is something that I would like to see improved with Honda motorcycles in general, because you have the super expensive premium bikes which have plenty of premium features, but the rest seems even kind of neglected sometimes when it comes to the electronics package and things like that. And I think it's a shame, because this bike would be so much better and so much more exciting for new riders if it had that little bit of premium touch. And so would I like to own this bike? Of course I would. I want my primary bike to be probably a sports bike, a fairly comfortable one, but still a sports bike, and this would be a perfect addition to it as a second machine. My dream used to be Africa Twin, but after my experience with this one, I think this would be more suitable for me, for what I need. It's really an all-rounder, which Africa Twin isn't, so I could use this bike basically daily and then take out my racer whenever I feel like, whenever I ride alone. That would be a great setup. But that's it, and now it's time to return it safely back to Honda. So a huge shout out to Honda Motor Europe Limited Slovakia for suggesting that I test this bike, because it was a major eye-opener for me. I love this machine, I love this week, and I'm looking forward already now to the next test. Guys, thank you so much for your attention, for your support. Take good care of yourselves, your loved ones. Ride safe, be safe, and stay safe, please, all of you. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.